Yo, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video. So here we are, Ghost Recon, what we want in the new game. Penguin Overlord started a thread on the Ghost Recon forums. He's compiling information on what the community wants to see as far as mechanics wise. Now, in my live stream that I made a few days back, a lot of people came in, a lot of people dropped info on what they want to see in general. I'm going to go over that now. I'm going to get this info over to Penguin. He's going to compile what he's going to pick out and choose what he thinks fits right for his video. And he's going to take what the entire community has been talking about in his thread and on Reddit. And he's going to make a video as well. So stay tuned for that. Keep an eye out for it. And let's get into it. This is going to be a long video. There's a lot of information here to unpack. Down below, I will have timestamps in the description. If you want to fast forward anything you don't care about, go look at the timestamps. So let's get into it. First and foremost, offline mode. I had to include this. Ubisoft, no more always online live service games. I wouldn't honestly have mind at this point in time the always online if you guys did it right. But in my opinion, if you have a patch, one title update come out every 3 months, you don't need a live service game. This game could have been always offline, okay? You don't hotfix anything every week, every 2 weeks, a little hotfix. Hey guys, server's coming down. We're going to put a little hotfixes. We're going to add a couple things. No, once every 3 months, you don't need to be always online. So offline mode for the next game, pretty pleased with a cherry on top. And if not, hey guys, we tried. Narrative. So we have a couple ideas here for one narrative. Someone wanted to see Captain Mitchell as the main character, and it in the past, coming into his squad for the first time, and he wanted more linear structure, mission design, I guess more like Future Soldier. And then some ideas were thrown around. How about a country at war, and the player is in between two main factions that are always in conflict with each other? Maybe the player chooses a side for the story. Maybe the player can play both sides, but that was a cool idea. And then also for the narrative, I guess for the game in general, decisions affect the outcome of the story with multiple endings. People want to see that also. We were discussing on the forums the other day. People want to see more dynamic events in the game that have like effects on the real world. So for instance, if you destroy an electric grid to turn off power in this area, maybe the civilians in that area now won't give you intel. Maybe they become a little more hostile towards you. Maybe even they'll pick up arms if you're causing so much damage in the area they find out it's you. Maybe there are more cause and effect type of things like that in the game. We would have to flesh out ideas like that as far as mechanics wise, but people were thinking of things like that. Okay, so moving on to terrain. So we have a Middle East, Central Africa setting. Pretty cliche type of stuff, pretty simple type of stuff, but a lot of people want to go back to a Middle Eastern or North Africa, Central Africa type of environment. Someone actually thought of they want to see more snow. They want to have that more Russia type of feeling. So Cold War type of setting, Russia VKBO with Russian military gear, the blue type of camo, a lot more snow, a lot more of environments like that. We also had the idea of smaller multiple sandbox worlds and the opportunity to maybe travel between them via AI ships or aircrafts or things of that nature. So if you're going between campaigns, you actually load onto aircrafts and the AI takes you to the next small sandbox world, or things of that nature. So maybe they could be like a desert world, a forest world, like a snow world, and all these campaigns kind of come together in a story and you bounce between them via this type of travel. So that was a good idea. We have an open world Green Beret type of warfare like in Wildlands. Basically, you're behind enemy lines, you're building up rebels to overthrow the power structure in that game. That's a good idea. I really enjoyed Wildlands, and that mechanic of the game was really fun in my opinion. People want larger raiding complexes in cities. Ubisoft, if the compounds in Breakpoint, let's say there were a multiplier of 1, I think people want to see compounds as a multiplier of 4 or 5. You understand? They want really big cities that you can get lost in and you can be overwhelmed if you make a mistake. A lot of more CQB type of combat where, you're watching corners, you're moving around these real big urban environments. I think a lot of people wanted to see more of that. See bigger and more crowded urban environments. Some people said, and add more animals into the world. We want to see a more thriving ecosystem. If you're going to have something like Breakpoint, with the majority of the game is forests and jungles, there should be a lot more animals. It should feel a lot more alive. So I know there's a balance there too with what you want to create and render into the game. So, but it does make sense. Breakpoint is pretty desolate when it comes to any type of anything living. So, okay, weather. More stormy weather and effects, i.e. wind, rain, trees being knocked down, things like that. I think people want to see just harsher environments when the weather does turn for the worst. Gameplay setting. Okay, so people want a hardcore mode from the beginning of the game to be able to play that. Now, there is one in the Division. There was one in Wildlands. They didn't include one in Breakpoint. I think that was a good idea not to include it in Breakpoint for one reason. Breakpoint was a buggy mess. The last thing people want to do is play a hardcore mode and die because of a bug. But people would like a hardcore mode with no HUD, a permadeath, elite difficulty, things of that nature. People were also asking, it's interesting too, they want a 24-hour real-time option versus the in-game day-night cycle, because a lot of people want to log in at nighttime when they go to play, and just the game represents the time that they're in. So if they log in at 1 a.m., they log in the game, and it's just really that time, and it's just night, and they know they have a few hours to play. I guess this would be difficult to program. Maybe the game would have to figure out your time zone and then load up your game with that time in mind. But it was an idea that a lot of people wanted. They wanted a legit 24-hour real-time option. The only thing I see the problem with that is if people want to change the time in-game. So I guess maybe it still wouldn't matter where your time zone is. There would still be a 24-hour clock in-game, and I guess that can be done. So that's up for the programmers though. But bottom line, people want a 24-hour real-time option. Gear management system. Okay, now we're getting to the meat and the bones of mechanics. And I want Penguin to really, I know he's going to talk about this because this is the stuff people want. This is the stuff the community has been talking about forever. And all it's going to take is Ubisoft devs to sit down and say, this is what we're going to develop. Let's get to it. Let's design it. Let's program it out, and let's get it. So a gear management system. All right. So for the Ubisoft devs out here, this is probably priority number one, in my opinion, to push Ghost Recon to where it needs to be and to get on the right tracks. So the more gear you have on, the heavier you are, the quicker you gas out, the slower you are. A weight, a stamina, and a speed modifier system, right? Weight, stamina, speed modifier, right? The more gear you have on, the louder you are. Add a stealth modifier now. The more heavy armor you have on, the more health bullets you can take before dying. Health modifier. There are your 5 modifiers with a system back and forth, just like Splinter Cell with the light and noise. There are your modifiers you need to program out for Ghost Recon, and this is how it's going to work, right? So example, a player wants to roll out with a saw, right? Some type of heavy LMG. He wants to be he wants to roll out as a heavy gunner suppression type of class. He puts on heavy tack gear, helmet, chest, tack belt, pants. He's ready to rock and roll. He's ready to be on the front lines. He has lots of items. He throws on grenades, flashbangs, C4. He rolls out with extra magazines or cases for whatever type of LMG he has. So right off the bat, we know that this player, he's going to be slower, he's going to be louder, but he's going to be more resistant to bullet damage. So they should expect to be a frontline soldier, not expect to be very stealthy, very fast in comparison to somebody who has way less gear on, in comparison to a player who has very little attack gear and fewer items, right? So players shall choose their loadout, and that dictates their class. No more pigeonholing players into a class system for the sake of perks. This is the system you should build out. Don't worry about class system. Build this system out, okay? A player puts on nothing. Light vest, 4 magazines instead of 6 or 8. He has 2 grenades instead of 4. He has 1 mine instead of 4. He has 1 flashbang, 2 flashbangs, 3 flashbangs instead of 6 or whatever. His backpack is a little smaller than a big backpack, which can hold a lot more stuff in it. Okay? this guy is going to be quicker, but he's going to die quicker if he gets in a firefight and gets hit with bullets. He's going to be more agile. He's going to be faster. He's going to be stealthier. Okay, you can't expect to have on a lot of gear and creep on an enemy and that enemy not hear you and turn around like, wait, you know, he hears you jingling. He hears all the gear. You have 100 pounds of gear on you. He hears you. Okay, this is how the classes should be developed in Ghost Recon. If you roll out with all this heavy gear and then you get into an urban area, you should expect to hold back while the guys who are wearing nothing are running point, moving forward, doing the stealth. And then when shit hits the fan, those guys should expect to retreat back as you move forward and you start laying out suppression fire. That's, I think, that's the system in which these players in the tactical shooter, they want to see developed. Okay? And this is something like how Operator Drewski was talking about in his video as well. The people want to see the stuff you have on matter. And it should be factored into the programming with a type of weight system, a type of speed system, a type of health system, a type of stealth system. And that's really the gear management system. We can really go into this a lot, but that's basically the meat and bones of it. And that is something that the Ubisoft developers should be working on first and foremost. This is what the community has been asking for. And this is what even people came by the live stream said. First and foremost, boom, this needs to be in the game. No more of just putting everything on and nothing matters. Now, adding to that, camo system, right? So a camo ghillie suit should matter according to the terrain. Programmers should match a terrain type to a camo type and factor that into the AI detection modifier. A player with a ghillie suit while prone should have a bonus to AI detection. A player with the proper camo in their terrain environment should have a bonus to AI detection. So if you're building out your game map and you have a piece of terrain, the terrain is number 1000. That number 1000 matches a woodlands type terrain. So now you have 1000 all in this province. The designers come in, it matches this woodlands, boom, they design it all out. That 1000 should also match this many camos that the player can wear. So when this terrain matches this camo, you factor that into your programming with the AI. And now the AI can see you a little bit less if you have on that camo. If you decide to roll out, let's say a province has woodlands camo, maybe there's a way to get this info to the player while they're in game before they go to the province. You know, type of terrain, woods, woodlands, you know, grass, swamp, etc., things like that. So they know if they put on a snow outfit and they go there, the AI is gonna bump up and they're gonna be able to see them more. And that's what people want in the camo system. People want to be able to say, okay, we got to wear good camo here. I'm going to wear a good ghillie suit. I'm going to snipe. This is how it's going to be. And you have to factor that into the programming and figure out a way for it to work without being cheesy. And what I mean by that is a player can't put on a million things and then have a ghillie suit underneath it. But then all of a sudden, you know, the AI detection, you know, it's gonna take a lot of coding, I guess, behind it for the programmers to figure out all these types of modifiers, which is probably why they don't do it to begin with. But I digress. People want gear management system, camo system. That has to get done. Okay, so skill trees. Moving on to skill trees. No skill trees. The players find everything in the world through missions. Now, I'm really thinking this more like of Breakpoint. So like with night vision and thermal. So there's more immersive mode design, finding weapons, caching enemy bases on off of enemies. So with Breakpoint, right away you got a parachute, you got your night vision, you got your thermals with skill points. I feel like there should have been a way where you're out in the world and you're in a compound and that's where you find your night vision. You're out in the world, you go and you find your thermal. I don't think skill points, I feel like talent trees in the skill point system in general, from the way Ubisoft does it, it's getting to the point where it's boring. You look at old games like Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, the first Metal Gear Solid, or basically all of them. When you're playing Metal Gear and you start that game, you have nothing on you. You find your first pistol. You find the suppressor for it. You find your thermal goggles. You find your night vision goggles all in the base. And it felt awesome. When you played Ocarina of Time, and for you young guys out there, you might not understand this. There are no skill trees. You went into a dungeon and you found, a bow. You went to a dungeon and you found the light boots or the shield, or you found the heavy boots in this one dungeon and that dungeon. There were things that you unlocked in game. You didn't just play the game gave you skill points and then you unlock something. This type of design, I mean, it's boring, guys. It's boring. Let it go. Figure out better ways to immerse your players into getting items in the game. Not just, okay, here's a skill point, now you can unlock it. There's got to be a better way to do it. Nobody in a Ghost Recon game wants to get a skill point and say, oh, cool, look, now I'm better at stealth. Instead of skill points, the player gets better with weapons and items the more they use them, i.e. reload speed, quick aim, sights on target, natural crosshair sway, gun sway, etc., things of that nature. So, can there be a system where if you're going stealth the majority of the time, maybe your CQC kills get quicker? This might be a contradiction, but Ghost of Tsushima did this really well. Now, yes, it was used with skill points, but the way they built in how your stealth kills got better when you went from the samurai to the ghost, your stealth kills got quicker and more efficient. Now, there was no Luno narrative dissidence within that game, so the story matched the gameplay. And that's what Ubisoft needs to really nail in their games moving forward. When you have something like Breakpoint where you have a man behind enemy lines, he should be, finding items and getting everything, but then the gameplay is blossoming trees, loot crates everywhere, skill points that unlock everything, right? So that Luno narrative dissidence between the gameplay and the story is there. And I think that's the bridge that Ubisoft needs to cross and figure out. So when it comes to skill trees, let us really get to the point where the players out there and they're getting better at reload speed because they're in a lot of CQB situations, or they're really there are a lot of situations where they're in action, and so their sights on target. When they pick up their gun, it gets a little bit better, but now they're doing more stealth, so that gets a little worse, and their stealth gameplay gets a little better, so their CQC animations change over time. I mean, I think there's a way to build this out, because Ubisoft in Breakpoint has like 50 stealth kill animations. You don't see any of them. There's probably a way to do it to where the more you do CQC and stealth, your animations change a little bit, you get a little better. And there's a way to formulate this type of gameplay for the player to where, hey, this player's wearing all tack gear, he's loud, he's doing a lot of shooting, so his reload speed's quicker, his aim to sight is quicker, sights on target is quicker. The natural sway of the crosshair that we have to where we hold our breath, it gets less because this guy's always in fights and he's always building up his stats. Kind of like how GTA works. The more you played, the better your stats got. And the game just gave it to you. It wasn't any skill points or anything like that. That's the type of design I think Ubisoft needs to move towards. Because even with something like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I think the talent tree was absolutely boring. Here, plus the melee, plus the stealth, plus the this, boom, oh, you got a main skill. It gets to the point where it's like, can't we move past this type of design and make it to where what the player is doing in the world leads you to get better here or to get better here? Let's move forward. Game mechanics. So, I'm not one for first-person shooters, but I do know a lot of people out there like first-person games. And the one thing people want in Ghost Recon is a first and a third-person choice to play the game. Now, I agree with this, and I'll tell you why. I would love to play the Far Cry games, but I don't really like first-person games. If Far Cry had a third-person option, animations and everything that look great, I'd play it. So imagine a world where you can play a Ubisoft game like Far Cry or Ghost Recon and choose first or third. I know it's a lot more work, But hey, Rockstar does it really well in Grand Theft Auto, so maybe it could be done. And I think Red Dead as well. Better bullet physics and realistic ballistics. This is very important to people. Bullet penetration, injury, death on heavy armored players versus normal armor, etc. People want better bullet physics. People want to see that if an enemy has just a t-shirt on and you double tap into the chest, they go down. Versus if you shoot an enemy that's got some tat gear on, maybe it takes a few more rounds. I think people want to see that enemies are distinguishable when in combat. So it looks like the designers and the programmers actually have different programming parameters for each enemy archetype. I think that would work really well in a shooter, especially because the shooting is the main mechanic of the game. Repelling kits. People have been asking for this forever. You know, I had to add it. People said it in the live stream. They want it usable for buildings, mountains. They want to repel down from helicopters, and it should add to the weight in the gear system. So, like the gear system, what we were talking about, right? If you want to be completely lightweight, stealth, whatever, you don't want to put a repel kit in your backpack, maybe you can't repel now. But if you're willing to put that weight on you, because remember, there's a weight system. The more weight you have, the slower you get, the less agile you are, maybe the louder you start to get as you get heavier, you're more heavy-footed. But there should be a way to repel. Now, how it should work also is almost like the Division. If you play the Division 2, you know there are repel stations where you cut it, it falls, and now at any point in time, you could walk up to it and you could just, you could zip line up it as well as going down it. So if you are with a team of co-op players, couple guys, they clear a building and you're still down below. You know, you're maybe watching a certain road or anything, make sure nobody comes into the building. Then they hook up a repel station, right? You should take it out of your backpack. You set it up, press X, boom, set up repel station. Now you should be able to zip line up to the building to your teammates. Also, how cool would it be if you could actually, with your crosshairs, maybe aim on a building and select your AI, boom, boom, set up repel station. And they'll sneak into the building, go to the top and set up a repel station. Now, that shit is OD programming, I know, but just ideas I'm spitballing. As far as rappelling down from helicopters, I know that the programmers, they sit there and say, look, you're going to, boom, bring a helicopter here, and you want to rappel here, just lower the helicopter and hop the hell off. I know that's probably the thought process when developing the games, like, we're not going to add that, just drop the helicopter and get the hell off. But people want it. They've been asking for it forever. They want to be able to sit here and drop lines and rappel down. I think for helicopters, repelling kits usable for buildings, mountains, maybe more mountains, unlike Breakpoint where you could kind of just slide down a mountain and not die. Maybe you should be able to use a repel kit, you know? And like I said, it adds to the weight gear system and you lose it. So you bring a repel kit with you, you have one shot to use it and that's it. Otherwise, it would have to be something where if you and your team get to the top of a building, you know, there's 4 of you, 2 of you rappel down, and then the other 2, they press X and they break down their repel system, they put it back in their bags, and then they go down the building by themselves. It could be something like that as well. We could set the repel kit up, you could break it down and put it back in your knapsack. Also, this isn't listed here, but the knapsack should really be like how it is in The Last of Us 2. You should be bringing your knapsack out and taking things out to use. Items, repel gears, things of that nature. Maybe we'll get into that. Roll while prone. People want that Metal Gear Solid rolling while prone. I think it should be in the game. Also, if you're going to continue on with this type of animation structure, you need to be able to aim and then move laterally back and forward. And then when you don't aim, your character turns that direction. That would alleviate a lot of stress for people who want to maneuver a certain way while they're prone. So when you're sitting at 12 and you just want to inch over a little bit, you shouldn't turn to your 3 or your 9. You should aim and then you could kind of creep over. You need to include that in the next game. That's very important. They want to blind fire while in cover. I guess that's can you blind fire in the Division 2? I think so. I don't blind fire a lot, but they want to blind fire in cover. Magazines, grenades, all items are shown and counted for on the player's character. If the player has 3 frags and tosses 1, you see the player's frags count on their vest belt go from 3 to 2. So, player has 1, 2, 3 frags, 1, 2, 3 flashbangs, 1, 2 C4 on the belt, 1 mine on the belt. You should be able to see the player when he throws a grenade. Now they have 2. When he throws a flashbang, now they have 2. They take C4, it disappears off the belt. Also, like I said with the bags, you should be able to have a certain amount on the character that you see on the vest, and the bag loadout that you choose. If you want to roll out with a lot of gear, you should have to roll out with a bag that has a weight limit to it. And the bigger the bag, the more shit you could put in it, the heavier you get, the slower you are. There's just a lot of programming that would need to go into this system, but I swear to God, if this system was ever built out in a tactical shooter, I think it would be a home run with the community, because that shit would be awesome. Like, I don't want to be that heavy. I don't want to be that slow. I don't want to be that loud, but I want to have a lot of shit on me. You as the player, you have to make that decision. Do I want a couple more things? Do I want to have a bigger backpack on me? And like I said, Game of the Year, Last of Us 2, has a great system that in-game, you take your knapsack off and you concoct things, right? That's how it should be in Breakpoint. Not concocting things, but if you have only 2, maybe you have one, almost like your primary weapons, primary items. Primary item number 1, grenades. Boom, they're on your person. Primary item number 2, flashbangs, and they're on this side. Primary item number 3, C4. You have 1 here. Primary item, and then maybe after that, everything is in your backpack. So you want to get anything else out after these 3 grenades, you take your backpack out, and then maybe you put more on you. You put your backpack back on. Or if you only have a vest that can hold so many things, so you're maybe a little more agile, everything else has to go in your bag. So you take your bag out to take out the C4, and then you throw the C4. Shit, I want to put a mine here, but I only have primary 1 and 2 on my vest. I only have grenades and flashbangs, but I want a mine. In game, you don't go into a menu to take out the mines. In game, you take out your knapsack, and you take the mine out. You put your knapsack back on. Boom, you place your mine down. That's how you start to create in-game mechanics that don't put you in a menu, but still have that menu type of feeling. And I think that would be a big hit as well, because now you're getting to the point where everything feels realistic. Everything has a weight to it. Everything has a movement to it. Everything matters. You're in the middle of a gunfight and you want to put down a mine, but you don't have your mine's in your backpack. Yo, you got to take a second, grab cover. You take your knapsack off, just like in The Last of Us. You pull out a mine, you put the knapsack back on, boom, you throw the mine down, you keep it moving. I think that would be fucking awesome. Remove safe house, fast travel, stationary location. Safe house bivouacs are now resource-based and deployable. Limit X per province or a total amount. What I mean by this is that there shouldn't be 50 safe houses at certain locations in the world. Number 1, I'm burping a lot. Number 1, fast travel ruins the game. Number 2, another resource-based system. Hey, I'm going to roll out into this province. I'm this heavy, but I want to roll out with bivouac supplies. So now I'm going to be a little heavier. So you have weight management. I want to set up a bivouac in this province. Now, if you don't want to remove the safe house system, if your designers insist on making us fast travel across the entire map, there's no more I could say on that. I've already been I've exhausted that conversation about how bad that type of design is and how you should move from one area of the map, slowly opening the rest of the map and not just fast traveling everywhere. But as far as bivouacs, whether the bivouac is going to move forward in the game and not be the safe house and can actually be something on its own where you set up like Red Dead Redemption 2 for creating things, injury station, anything like that, it should be resource based. And I think remove the safe houses, let the player set up X amount of bivouacs per province or X amount of bivouacs in the game in total, and let them make their own fast travel areas. So, yo, I like this area right here. I'm going to set up a bivouac. And they can always fast travel back to that. But now, after they set up that bivouac, they're all out of bivouac resources. They either have to go back to the FOB or something like that, or they have to get the resources out in game. There's got to be some type of mechanic where it can't be abused, and the player gets to decide whether or not they're gonna make a bivouac station here, whether it's gonna add to the weight system, and they're gonna roll out with one. I think that would be a cool idea. I think first and foremost, flying around a map in a helicopter that's easy to come by, or fast traveling in safe houses and bivouacs, I think it ruins the majority of all of Ubisoft's games as you start to progress through them, because it allows the designers to make missions all over the map that have no cohesive structure to them. And I think first and foremost, they should need to figure that out. So yeah, bivouac gear takes up an encumbrance space in your gear management system, i.e. it takes up space and adds weight. Strike designator. This is what people were talking about as well. If the strike designator stays in the game, which I'm sure it will, whether it's in the form of the mortars, rebel mortars like in Wildlands, strike designator like in Breakpoint, let's get a little fun with it. How about create different types of airstrikes for the strike designator? So example, a player can choose from an A-10, laser guided missile, Apache rocket strike, cluster bombs, etc. Each strike has X amount of damage and has an X amount of time until the strike, and it has X amount of cooldown. So what I mean by that is, if you're in an oh shit situation, you're in the middle of a gunfight, you're pinned down by enemies' suppression fire, snipers, whatever, you are going to call in maybe an A-10, because the A-10 gets there in a quicker amount of time than you would if you called in cluster bombs, right? So you call in the A-10, and the A-10 comes, boom, shoots, and now you can maneuver out. First of all, how cool would it be if you actually see the A-10? But if you're going to do some video game shit and you just see the bullets, it is what it is. But how cool would it be if you actually designed the A-10 to fly in and then fly out of the battle, right? And then it's on a 2-minute cooldown after that, or some shit like that. Or if you're not in a base yet, you know, you're 100 meters out and you're ready to take over a base. You got your AI teammates, you're all planned out. You call in a cluster bomb, all right? And it takes 20 seconds for the cluster bomb to hit. So then you're just sitting there. 20 seconds goes by, boom, 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 boom. The whole freaking city gets leveled. Then you move in. That would be so awesome if you could have different types of ways to choose an airstrike, but with the same mechanic. It really all just depends on the design of the airstrike, but the mechanic stays the same. It's just boom, calling a strike. I don't know, something to think about, something cool. And yeah, and then the mechanic of it would be each strike does X amount of damage, X amount of time, and has a cooldown. So the big damage ones, they take a long time to hit, 15, 20 seconds, and they have a longer cooldown, 5, 10, 20 minutes. Cluster bomb, 20-minute cooldown, A-10, 5-minute cooldown, 2-minute, whatever. There would have to be a balance there with the gameplay. People want a cover system like the Division. I'm a big fan of the cover system in the Division. If it could get worked in the Breakpoint, cool. If not, the cover system needs to get a little more like Metal Gear Solid, where it's not as snappy. You're walking all over the place, snap, snap. I'm walking this way and I snap on a corner. It's programmed to turn me around because it's on a corner that's looking this way. You gotta reprogram how the snap system works. At the very least, you need to add an option in game that lets me snap whichever way I'm looking. Because sometimes I literally will snap on a corner. Like I'll come across a corner like this, going this way, and snap here. And since it's a corner right here, my character will automatically snap looking this way, because you're trying to assume a player snapping on a corner to look this way. So there are some funky things that don't work with the snap cover system on trees and things of that nature. A cover system like the Division will work where you just you press it yourself, or you just have to really play around with it, get it a little more like Metal Gear Solid 5, which I think was a really good non-dedicated button cover system that worked really well. Okay, so breaching mechanics for entering buildings, i.e. destructible doors, walls. People want more destructive environments. There was nothing that you could really destroy in Breakpoint, and I think as far as the terrain and game mechanics, people want to be able to put C4 on a wall and that wall blows up. put C4 on doors and doors blow up and you can breach it in that manner. So that's something to think about. Enemy takedowns revamp. Instead of 40 plus animations that rarely get seen, i.e. Breakpoint, I would like to see animations from that are programmed, right? You design the animation from the front, the back, and the sides. This will hopefully allow for smoother animation transitions when approaching the enemy from every angle. This is if you're going to design it the same way you design it in Breakpoint and Wildlands, which is you walk up to an enemy, you press a button, and it's a stealth kill. A lot of times I'll walk up to an enemy and the enemy's looking this way. I'll walk up this way and the enemy will float to me because the animation is designed to look like this. In order to circumvent these issues and to eliminate that type of unimmersive feeling where guys are kind of floating around because the animation is set to go off a certain way. If the enemy is facing this way, have an animation where if I come this way, there's an animation dedicated to this side. When I come from the back, it's dedicated to this side. When I come from this angle, it's dedicated to this side. I come from the front, it's dedicated to that side. This way, there's none of this like floaty movement. You know, I come from this angle and I go to attack and the enemy kind of floats like this and then the animation goes off. Also, the way the game of the year did it, The Last of Us, you grab the character and then kill them. Yo, that shit worked really well in The Last of Us. You kind of grab them from any angle and they kind of just like naturally flowed into, you know, a natural grab. It looked really good. I don't know how they did it, but it looked really good in The Last of Us 2. That's one way to do it, where you kind of always grab the character and then you could maybe do something. But in my opinion, I think at the very least, an animation from each. Don't make 50 animations that we never see. Please don't waste your time with it. Just make sure the animations make sense and they look good. And I'm not dancing for 50 minutes. I'd like that at the very least. Hand-to-hand combat knife system for CQC, i.e. Metal Gear Solid 5. Some people want a little more of the ability to not walk up to a character and press X and you program an animation. They want to actually walk up to the character and tap buttons and there's a, kind of like a fight or a knife system. I don't know if you're going to get that for a Ghost Recon game, but Metal Gear Solid 5 does do that well, and that's what people were asking for. GTA 5 heist mission structure with stages. For example, if you're going to take down a high-value target, it shouldn't just be you go take down the high-value target. It's kind of a stage process like how the heists are in GTA 5. And I guess there are kind of ways like how this works in Ghost Recon. First, you get intel here, you get intel here, then you find the boss. It was kind of like that in Wildlands, right? So I think people want something more like that as far as when it comes to mission design and things of that nature, because I think people really liked the structure better in Wildlands than they did in Breakpoint, where it was just go here, do something, go here, do something. At least in Wildlands, you were in a province, you grabbed intel, you grabbed this guy got intel, you went here, you found a document, and then you unlocked the main boss. So I think building on that with kind of GTA 5 structure in mind, I think people prefer that than the way it was in Breakpoint, where it's just like, go kill this general. I mean, the faction missions are sort of like it, where it'll be like, you don't know where this faction mission is until you grab a commander and get intel from him. So you're kind of, you know, it's almost there, but that's what people were saying. Okay, so add an ammo check system along with the ammo check animation to tell the player the ammo count. So Ghost Recon Breakpoint added the ammo check where your character's walking and automatically he will take out the magazine, look at the bullets, and put it back. It's just kind of like an immersion kind of thing for the player to see the character do. I think players want to have the ability to do that themselves with a button. And for no HUD players, it tells them how many bullets they have. So for people who play no HUD and they're shooting, and they want to see that animation, it should do two things. One, it should flash in a subtitle, 10 bullets left. Also, the character should say 10 bullets left. You know, whatever. Or it's like he pops it out, boom, he puts it back. That's it. He's checking how many he has. Dog companion like Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid 5 is a big hit. They had a lot of good mechanics. I guess people want to see that. Also, I think Call of Duty has enemy dogs and things of that nature. So People want to see search dogs, enemies using search dogs, and a dog companion like in Metal Gear Solid 5. I don't know if we're gonna get a dog companion. That's something above and beyond what Ubisoft might want to actually do. So the reward versus the development time of people who want to utilize it. But I don't know, what was it? D-Dog? He was really awesome in Metal Gear Solid 5. But once you got what's her name? What the hell's her name? She was too badass. But D-Dog was cool, man. I can't believe I forgot her name. More player lines talking in situational circumstances. I think people want to see Nomad kind of say things under his breath while he's doing things. There are a lot of games that do that well. Add wind and have players have to figure out the trajectory of the bullet when sniping. So people want to have this mechanic where there is wind and you have to determine where the wind's, maybe when you zoom in the reticle, there's a wind modifier here. So you have to counter that. So if the wind modifier is one thing over, you have to counter it going one thing this way, and then you could snipe. I think people want to have a wind modifier. You know, I guess this shit is really hard to program. God, yo, kudos to game developer programmers. I mean, we're basically, this is a lot of shit. Obviously, you're not going to get all of this. It's cool ideas, a lot of it, but man, I would love to see how this shit is actually made in game engines and C++ or whatever they're programming it in. I mean, this is a lot of tough shit, man. So shout out to all the game developers out there that make our dreams and their dreams become a reality. Us as gamers, we get to play these amazing games, but I know a lot of this shit is difficult. So provinces, let's move forward. We were on game mechanics there for a while. Let's keep it moving. Provinces. So people want to take over control points and friendly AI take control, i.e. the Division 2 is a great example of this. Also, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas did this at the end game, where you take over your hoods and your hood was green, and then the purple hoods would take over your hoods. You have to go back in there and take them over. It provided some end game fun. But I think people want to see where you go into a province and you don't only do missions there, but there are certain control points. And when you take over these control points, now that province becomes yours. Your AI is there, your rebel AI that you're building up. They'll patrol the province more. Control points that are captured allow you to maybe fast travel there. Maybe now if you could set up a bivouac there, and your bivouac is now, you're able to fast travel into the area. Unlike if you lose the area and you set up a bivouac there, now you've lost your bivouac, you have to go back and retake it. That provides some gameplay mechanics outside of the story. When enemy AI retake control points, the player loses the ability to fast travel there. Friendly AI no longer patrol the roads, things like that, etc. There's a roadblock from friendly AI to the control province, so you have to go in there and retake it again. That would be a really cool game mechanic. And it's kind of, you're already kind of halfway there with the Division. They have that mechanic, even though that's in the Snowdrop engine, but I'm sure it can be done in something like Ghost Recon. It all depends what the narrative of the next Ghost Recon, but I think a control point is really cool for each province to kind of own it, control it. You'll be able to fast travel there, and it eliminates kind of players' ability to fast travel places. If you want to fast travel to a certain location, but you lost it, you got to fast travel outside of it, and really you have to move in on your own. I think that's kind of cool. Safe houses, ghost bases, whatever you want to call it. There should be one per province. So this was the idea where outside of the bivouac system, you have one safe house or one ghost base, right? Per province that you can upgrade. You could upgrade your equipment there that you can gather, and you could resupply, and you could have you could practice shooting at a gun range there to figure out how the weapons feel, 3-round burst, single round burst, things of that nature. Maybe you can practice there. So people want to see type of gun range as well. Maybe there's one per province, or there's one in just one location where you can go back to. It's kind of like the Division-esque in a way. So provinces have their own electric grids, radio towers, etc. This is also something that operator Drewski mentioned in his video that people have been asking for a long time with the Ghost Recon franchise. We want to have areas that can be sabotaged to help the player complete overall missions in that province a certain way. So example, you destroy the electric grid, the power in that province goes off, but it has consequences for the civilian population. Perhaps there could be an honor system within the civilian population, within the rebels, depending on how fast you recruit them, how fast you might lose them. And there's also the honor system C civilian rebel population. We'll get to that. Provinces should have their own barracks areas where quick response forces spawn from. These areas should also act as respawning areas for bases that have been cleared by the player. Each province, if you could also program this in any game, I think it'll be a home run, and it will push forward the open world into a new era, because no game does this. Each area should have one main hub where enemies spawn from and resupply other areas. Now, I've had a video on this, and this is something that I would really like to see, especially with the way Ubisoft Paris programs a lot of things. Even The Division does this, where players just pop out of rooms, but more so in Breakpoint, because it's an open world where you could see enemies just pop up. You should eliminate a base, and within that province, the main area spawns players to get in trucks and go to that base and refill that base. That allows a player to sabotage areas and things of that nature. Now, the question there would be, how does that one main area work? Maybe you make it super hard. Maybe it's flooded with enemies that always kind of pop out of this one building, kind of like The Division. It's something that you would have to really sit down and discuss. But bottom line is, we should try to move away from enemies just respawning when you get a certain distance away from an area, and that they are repopulated. So enemies come from a QRF area and they repopulate an area. Or if there is a QRF force, a quick reaction, that was redundant, right? If there's a QRF spawn, it doesn't spawn, 10 feet away where you could see it. It kind of comes from far. So it kind of looks like they are moving in from an area where they were called upon. These areas should also act as respawning areas for bases that have been cleared by the player. So no more respawning enemies. QRF spawn from certain designated barracks areas for that province, and each province should have their own. So this is a question that is something I wrote. Can developers actually write to memory what compounds have been cleared by the player and program enemies to spawn from a different location to come in with trucks to repopulate that cleared areas? I think that's probably the hardest part, is that these games are programmed to have these areas respawn when you're a certain distance away. You come back in and everything pops back into memory. That's my assumption on how it's designed. Would you be able to figure out how to get into memory when the player comes back into that area, that this area is still in memory, that it's empty, and that there's a QRF team coming in? So I don't know. That's something you'd really have to discuss with game programmers to see how everything works. But I think that's a really good idea. Okay, moving on. Enemies and enemy AI. Create animations and program enemies so they can distinguish which limbs are shot, and place specific animations for where the bullet hits. Example, a leg shot has them limp, a body heart shot takes them down immediately, an arm shot has them, go like this, or they use one arm now, they get shot here, they're only using one arm to shoot. Shooting the gun, shooting arm has them drop their weapon, so if you shoot them here, they drop their weapon, maybe then they pick up their pistol, something like that. That would be amazing. Enemies should also utilize healing mechanics created for the player. This is something people have said in Breakpoint. You made this whole entire injury system, but then you didn't give it to the enemies. Why? Let them limp around when you shoot them. Let them go down and you see them start to bandage themselves. That shit would have been awesome. You had that in the game. Give it to the enemy now. Enemies need to look like they communicate in battle via their combat engagement with the player. I.e., one enemy will utilize suppression mechanics while the others flank. So while the enemies are in combat, it needs to look like while they're engaged, they are communicating with each other. So flanking enemies get cover and begin to suppress, while other enemies move forward. They use flashbangs and grenades. The player should be overwhelmed when pinned down and surrounded. You should not let yourself get in that type of situation. It should mean certain death. Shift changes AM, PM, and schedules for movement patrols. So not only should enemies look like they suppress you and flank you more, also going back to that, I don't want to, there needs to be a way to clean up the AI to where the AI will run this way, hide, and then run back and hide. You know, it needs to be, they move forward, they hide, they move forward, they hide. A lot of times enemies will, you'll just sit there, you'll see them bounce back and forth. It makes no sense. So that needs to get cleaned up with the programming. But after that now, we want to see more like Wildlands. Shift changes. Enemies sleep, enemies move, enemies rotate out. Maybe a truck pulls into a base, grabs enemy, the truck pulls away and it disappears. Where does it go? We don't know. It just disappears. If we follow it, it just drives maybe to another base. So yeah, shift changes AM, PM scheduled for movement, patrols, etc. We want to see enemies use flares, more patrols, ambushes. They set IEDs on the road. They ambush roads, more things like that. Line of sight for AI. If you see them, they should see you. There should be a mechanic to where maybe you can change in the difficulty. Hey, I want the enemy AI to be able to see me at line of sight, and that's it. And at 300 meters, a sniper is going to see you and pick you off, and you're going to be like, holy shit, this shit is real deal. I need to really figure out how to get to this base. I think that'll be cool. I think people are tired of playing these. We're playing video games 1440p 4K. We can see enemies from, you know, 300 400 meters away, and we're just standing there, and they're staring at us, we're staring at them, and neither one of us could see each other. Well, they can't see us, and we move 100 meters up, 100 meters up, and it's only when we get like 60 meters 50 meters that the enemy goes, oh my god, I see you. That shit needs to change, and let it change on a difficulty setting, or put that setting in by itself and let people decide what they want to see. Okay, AI teammates. Okay, now I know a lot of people probably been wanting to see this. Individual and unit controls for each teammate. We want to control our teammates individually. Okay? Or if in the next game it's like three units of 2, how it is in like the original Ghost Recon, we want to be able to control them individually. Get back to the roots of Ghost Recon, guys. Throw away the entire system you have now. Throw it all away. Redevelop it. It's due. We're due. We're due for the squad-based tactical shooter to be revived. And this is how you do it. More AI teammates? Can we have more maybe? Playing co-op should still allow 2 players to have one AI teammate each. This was a good mention. I've thought of this myself too, but somebody brought this up. If you're playing with only one other person, maybe each one of you can control 1 teammate each. AI teammates. So this is something I've been thinking of. I'd really like to flesh this idea out, maybe in a video on its own. AI teammates start with baseline stats, right? They're all freaking amazing ghosts, but they have baseline stats. And they improve determined by how the player uses them. So if you have a teammate, you're going to dedicate this teammate, right? I want him to be my sniper. Right? So that teammate with the sniper rifle will get better at picking out targets from far. Right, so eventually he could see more targets, like as you play more with him as a sniper in Overwatch AI. He can make longer range shots, so his shots get better at farther ranges. So maybe at baseline 300 meters when you first start using him, he can start hitting his shots there. But then as you use him more and more, now he can hit 350, 375. He gets better. Using a teammate in CQC, they'll get better at stealth and maybe not being seen by enemies. Okay. Now the purpose of this mechanic is that you're building up your team the way you need them to be, right? But if you use them wrong and you get in situations where they die, your AI teammates die forever, and then they are replaced. So AI teammates are replenished if a team members are lost. This encourages players to utilize their teammates carefully and respectfully. Increasing teammate baseline stats for a specific role becomes important as your teammates can now be lost. And this eliminates what we've been playing since Wildlands, which is, hey guys, open fire, run around, die, and I'll just come res you, or I'll just get in a chopper, leave, and you'll just pop up and be there. I think it's time that Ubisoft recognizes, hey, we have an IP here that we are not fully utilizing. This is an IP about war, about soldiers and military conflict. We need to start thinking of mechanics that are really set in this setting. Okay, when they took Breakpoint and they decided, hey, no AI teammates, behemoth drones, drones everywhere, futuristic, tiered loot, big robots on raids, they did a disservice to the genre, to the brand, to the IP, to Tom Clancy himself, and to all the fans out there that know what this franchise, this genre, and these games are all about. It's one thing you created the Division and people were like, whatever, and you threw the Clancy name on it. It was kind of your own kind of made up shit, whatever. But with Ghost Recon, I don't think Ghost Recon itself, I know Rainbow Six is its own series. I know Ghost Recon, I believe, is its own thing as well, but you can't turn it into what you try to turn it into a Breakpoint. This is the type of shit how you kind of move it forward. You want to have like these type of video game mechanics where you can kind of build things up in an RPG way. In my opinion, this is how you do it. You take soldiers that are great regardless. You take them out. You have this soldier's always using a sniper rifle. This soldier you have using this weapon. Maybe they get better with those guns. They get better depending the way you use them. And then if you lose them, they die and it hurts because now you got to start over. Now the sniper you just had for the past 3 weeks that you were playing with, who was picking off enemies at 400 meters, he's dead. And you get a new recruit who now is only picking up guys at, 300 meters. And you got to build him back up. You got to use him. You got to make sure you're using him the right way so he gets better at his job. It's just an idea, and it's an idea to build a mechanic into this game. Remember, guys, it's still a game, so we're trying to think of mechanics that can kind of help bring it forward. If you guys disagree with that, let me know, because that one, I know we were talking about that, but that's something I would like to see, to be honest. I'd like to see your teammate AIs matter. I don't want to see this, open fire. They run around like idiots, kill everything, and then nothing matters. Also, the player can pick the number of teammates to roll out with. So for this one, you have a stealth mission. I just want one teammate with me. You have a mission where you got to get a high value target and he's behind enemy lines heavy. You roll out with the maximum number of teammates. I think that would be a really cool idea. AI teammates should also wear the appropriate items that they have on. Meaning, if you are at nighttime and you have them equipped with night vision, guys, you have to program that the AI teammates will put their night vision on their freaking face. I know a lot of people have been bitching about that with Breakpoint. Okay, AI teammate controls. This is something else that this is something that I live for to push into this game in order to make it good, because I feel like for all the things that everybody asks for, if the squad-based tactical shooter doesn't have great AI for your teammates and great AI for enemies, everything else won't matter because the game loop of combat will suck. So, people were asking for voice commands like SOCOM. So you should be able to say, Bravo team, broop, move to, broop, crosshairs, broop, and they'll go. So Bravo team, move to, crosshair. Like there should be dedicated voice commands. People were asking for that. Me, I don't mind the way they have it now. If the voice commands are too tough, I just know that almost 20 years ago, Zipper Interactive was doing it with SOCOM, so I don't know how Ubisoft can't do it now. But so this is something I'm big on. Move to, hold position. 2 main functions for squad commands. Move to position, hold position. They need to work in unison with the command open fire, hold fire. So move to and open fire. The AI moves to the position you just told them to while opening fire on enemies they encounter. They arrive at the position and they hold there. Move to position, open fire. They move to that position while they are hot. Remove the cleared hot fire. And this works for hold too, right? Hold position, open fire. Your enemy teammates, if you have them, whether you can control them individually or not, let's say you can control them individually, move to. They both move there, right? Hold position, right? So now they're holding. And you know what? Once they get there, they're in an automatic hold anyway, in my opinion, right? That's it. Now you tell them open fire. They don't run around like you have them programmed now. They just sit there and they open fire. That's it. They're hot. They will open fire. That's how it needs to work. Remove cleared hot, open fire, how it works now. Your entire AI system needs to be rebuilt. Right here, right here. Yeah, open fire while ordering teammates to locations is how the control should work. No more running around killing everything senselessly. It's just dumb. More AI orders. Stack, breach, clear, toss, grenade, flashbang, place C4, mine, suppression fire, etc. You should be able to point to a door and say breach, you know, and they'll breach that room. They'll breach that building maybe. AI teammates can drive, fly to locations marked on the TAC map by player. You go to the TAC map, you click, bloop, you aim at a car, you say, and you go, maybe there's an option, AI teammate, drive. The AI teammate gets in, and you get in, and they'll drive to that location. It's got to be a way to do it. Different movement formations for the AI teammates, column, line, diamond, wedge, overwatch. People want to see a lot more AI teammate interactive abilities. Now, should all of these be created? Maybe, maybe not. But we need to get to a point where this is where they take the AI teammate. This is the direction they take the AI teammates. That's what I think. That's what a lot of people think. Combat. More diverse enemies. Snipers hiding, waiting in ambush. Different types of heavies. I think people want to see more types of enemies do more types of things. People want to see themselves get ambushed. People want to see, you know, IDs get planted on a road. You drive by, boom, you blow up, your car's destroyed, freaking gunfire everywhere. You get pinned down, you get caught, you know, by an ambush. Rebels and enemies use IDs, set traps, mines. There are lasers. This is what I don't get. You created mines and lasers on Gollum Island. They're nowhere else to be found. Why aren't there mines in the normal world? Why aren't there lasers in some of these compounds? There should be. A suppression mechanic for both the player and the enemy AI to utilize. That would really work well. All right, weapons. Here we go. First and foremost, guys, girls, you've been asking for this forever. A sling for the primary weapon. Enough said. I hope they're working on it now. Please get rid of the mechanic you've had us using for the past, I don't know how many years, where it goes to our back. It's used for the Division. It's used for Breakpoint, for Ghost Recon. Like, enough of it. Reinvent that now, okay? Our main primary needs to be on a sling. That's it. Metal Gear Solid did it. You guys can do it. Weapons are no longer carried in excess on your person. Okay, people don't want to have 50 weapons that they could just choose from. Now, maybe this can be in a hardcore mode. I don't know. I know Ubisoft and you guys think you're selling this game to a bunch of casuals. Yo, dude, you're not. This is what people want right here. You go to a safe house or vehicles. Virtual Chris talked about this on like day one, where he role plays where he has a vehicle, and in that vehicle he has his weapons. And if he wants to change out a weapon, he goes back to his vehicle. And there was one of the reasons why he hated immersive mode was the fact that you could only change out your weapons at the bivouac. So if you could in immersive mode make it to where no, you could only change out the bivouac, then you kind of already have an idea of how it could work. So right here, safe houses and vehicles hold the player's weapon cache. And there you go. You want to roll out with a lot of weapons. You have a designated vehicle. You put the certain amount of weapons that you could fit in there, and you roll out. Now your vehicle is important. You can't just drive it everywhere, crash it, you abandon it. It's an important vehicle now. Also, I don't know if we mentioned this. Vehicles should have gas, and I don't know if it's in here or not. I think I do have it in vehicles. But vehicles should have gas, and maybe they fill up every time you go back to a safe house or something like that. But let's keep going. Grenade launchers. People want different types of grenades. Flares, smoke, flashbangs, grenades, things of that nature. People want realistic tracer rounds when shooting. Changing mags versus reloading, i.e. reloading, losing the mag versus changing the mag is a longer reload. So when you change the mag, it's a longer reload because you actually see the player take it, see the character is animated to go put it in, right? Simple animation, maybe it takes an extra second, right? Versus, oh shit, I need to, I'm in a firefight. where he just is reloading and loses the mag, where you see him that boom, and he pops it out and just takes a new one, and now he loses that magazine, and that's a lot quicker. So, and that can be done basically, you press it and it's a quick, maybe you press it, it's quick, or you press it and it's the normal one, and or you hold it and it's just bop, or you know, vice versa, whichever. But there could be a way to do it. Suppressors having a lifespan. That's kind of like how Metal Gear Solid does it, I think. And suppressors should become more realistic, in my opinion. People don't want the damage multiplier, and I think they should be louder. We should get to the point where not everything is this make pretend stealth based Splinter Cell old school type bullshit. If players want to roll out with like super quiet weapons, they need to have a real low caliber weapon with a big suppressor, and they use that pistol in the base. But the minute they go freaking to their AK that has a suppressor on, it's still loud. Everybody, the whole base still turns around like, oh shit. Maybe it doesn't go on red alert, but they should go on yellow alert. Like, what was that? Let's go check it out. More weapon variety. This one person said they want the Black Ice 416, but bottom line, a lot of people do ask for more weapon variety. Don't lock things behind. You don't need weapon variants. Just have one thing and let the person just do whatever they want to the gun. Flashlights on weapons. I don't know how there are no flashlights on weapons. Even with enemies, that flashlight you have on the enemies was kind of silly. I think Metal Gear did it really well, where they come out and they click a flashlight, but even having the flashlight on enemy weapons might have been better. Maybe they couldn't do it. I don't know. The ability to turn lasers, your laser on your weapon, or the flashlight on and off, obviously. Breach kits should work on all types of fences. You gave us these breach kits, and sometimes they still don't work on fences. Also, in the future, for breach kits, you shouldn't have to have them equipped. You should just be able to go to a fence and press X, and the player will take the breach kit out and use it. But that's more along the lines of how it worked in Breakpoint, because you had a weapon wheel with only a few items, and you had to have the breach kit out. It would have been smarter that you just use the breach kit, period. Like I said previously, I would like to see you go to a fence, the player takes their bag off and takes the breach kit out, and then puts their bag back on, and then breaches. In my opinion, that's how it's done. You guys got to look at The Last of Us 2 to see how that shit works. I think utilizing that for Ghost Recon will really work well. You have a certain amount of things on your person. Primary item 1, primary item 2. You put flashes, C4, flashes, grenades. Everything else is in your backpack. If you want to take that out, boom. Or maybe you could have primary 1 on your vest, primary 2 on your vest, primary 1 on your belt, primary 2 on your belt, and then the rest is in your bag. I think that's a good idea. No upgrading weapons. Guys, whoop-de-doo, look, I killed 3 things and I got all these items, and now I press a button and my weapon goes from Mark 1 to Mark 2. It's boring. You don't need that shit. Bipods animate. Don't give us bipods if you're not going to have them animate. Also, don't give us bipods if they're not going to have functionality to them. When you, at the very least, when you go prone and you have a weapon with a bipod, it should provide less recoil for the weapon. It should provide greater accuracy for the weapon. These are things you need to give your programmers 2, 3, 4 years to program all this shit so it works and it makes the game awesome. All right? Stop making blossoming trees. Stop making raids with RoboCops. Nobody wanted that shit. These are the types of things people want. And you think about it too. A lot of these things, I feel like it's almost, there are a million little things that are awesome versus the few big things that you thought were awesome that all fell flat. Like, you don't need huge, big RoboCop raids. Like, oh my God, people are going to love this. You think of all these little things and then you're like, oh, do we even have a game here? There's like nothing here. But then you realize all these little mechanics add up and it makes the fucking game amazing. Then you just throw a good story to it and the player has gameplay infinite. That's my opinion. I played the raid. I did all that shit. I'd take all these mechanics any day over the week and not have anything like that. And be able to just freaking have awesome gameplay between me, my AI teammates, or friends that I'm playing with, and enemies that fucking flank, throw, flashbang, suppress. Should be dope. EMP mines, someone had mentioned, disables all player electronic devices on them. Minimap disappears, things of that nature. For players with HUDs and things like that. Maybe EMP grenades, enemies throw EMP grenades and then you can't use your drone or this or that, or maybe certain devices on you, break and you can't use them. Certain types of mines, if you put down mines, they throw an EMP grenade, maybe now the mine doesn't work. And that all depends, but that was a good idea. Create a mechanic for the jamming of weapons depending on the weather, dirt. If you're crawling around in the dirt, if you do use that, go prone. Maybe after a while, you have to add the ability to clean weapons with cleaning kits and things of that nature. If you're going prone, you're shooting your gun a lot, you're out in the world, you're dirty, and you're not cleaning your weapon, your weapon starts to have a multiplier that eventually it's gonna jam. And now obviously when it jams, you have to have an animation to where it jams. Maybe after it jams, you have an animation where the character, cocks back the hammer or something, or he takes the magazine out and then cocks it back and puts it back in, something like that. But it would be cool if you don't take care of your weapon, it has a chance to jam, something like that. So that was also mentioned. Okay, weapons is now over. We are into cosmetics. Where are we at now? Holy shit, I've been talking for over an hour. This is amazing. Cosmetics. The only fucking, we are, if you are still with me now, you're a nerd. Give yourself a pat on the back. Talking about video games for over an hour. Okay, cosmetics. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love all of you out there. Shout out to everybody who's sitting here watching this like, yes, man. Yes, exactly. Okay, cosmetics. The ability to add emblems to the cosmetic items. So, this person wanted like, if you have a mask, so you have a generic mask, and then you could pick the type of emblem that goes on the mask. So instead of having a mask with a skull generically, you have an empty mask and there's a skull, dragon, there's a bunch of decals you could put on the mask. Someone asked for that. Ghillie hoods, Ubisoft. I don't know what happened with Breakpoint. If it's a bug, you guys can't figure it out, but we're going to need ghillie hoods in the next game. The ability to see the correct amount of gear on the character. This is something I've talked about before. So if you have grenades, flashbangs, if you have 3 of them, you see 3 of them. You have 4 of them, you see 4 of them. If you have any more than that, they're in your backpack. Maybe there's a mechanic where you can resupply, item number 1 after you throw them, and you open your backpack and you put them on your character. Something like that would be cool. The ability to attach a helmet on the backpack or on the waistline. A lot of people were saying this. They want to. I don't know how this would work in general, but I guess people want to get to the point where maybe if they get indoors or something, they could press a button and there's an animation where the character takes the helmet off and puts it on their waistline, or takes the helmet off, takes the backpack off, puts it on the backpack. It's just going to take a lot of animating, things like that. I don't know if I know developers are going to be like, well, I don't know if we're going to do that. Maybe instead we'll just make a cosmetic item where you can see the helmet on the backpack and you could equip it. But then we get to the point where, backpacks need to matter. The size of the backpack needs to matter. The weight of the backpack needs to matter. Then we get to the point where it's just a cosmetic item. So we have to figure this stuff out, man. The ability to attach, ghillie wraps for weapons and more choices like this. There were a few guns that you guys made recently where you had a lot of things on the gun, not just normal paint. You want to put padding here and leaves around here. A lot of people want to be able to decorate their guns in that fashion. And I think there should be more cosmetic choices like that for the weapons, where you could add, a pad on here, put a pad on the buttstock and put a grip on the handle, and put leaves around the rail, so it kind of has camouflage, things like that people want to see. Option to put hoodies on off. This was another thing, like the helmet. People want to be able to throw a hoodie on, run around, throw a hoodie off. It takes an animation, or at the very least I could see Ubisoft just having 2 different designs, a hoodie on, a hoodie off, and you choose the one you put on. But people want to actually be able to do that in real time. Allow players, sorry about that. Okay, so allow players to choose multiple patches and placement. This was about when you put on the flag and it goes on everywhere. People want to be able to just take the helmet and put the flag on it, or just take their arm patch and put the flag on it. Not where you put it once and it goes everywhere. Allow face and head cosmetics to be worn at the same time. People want to be able to wear a gas mask and then put a helmet on. So you need to separate some of these items, all right? And you need to be able to say, okay, you have on this helmet, you could also put on this mask, which sometimes you can't. You end up putting something on and then you put something else on and it takes that thing off. So that's something people want to see. Allow the tactical belt, allow the tactical belt to be customized. So not only do people want to remove their tac belt or put it on, we should be able to, same thing where I said, you know, primary item 1, primary item 2, we should be able to designate, you know, does the canteen go here? What do we want here? I think that would be really cool. And everything should have a weight to it as well. So if you want the second primary item on your belt, you're going to weigh a little heavier. You put it on your backpack, it's still going to weigh you down. Maybe you remove it at all costs. You have less stuff in your backpack, a smaller backpack, things like that. Let's keep going. The ability to roll sleeves like blousing boots. This was a good idea. A lot of people with all these cosmetic items, they've been asking Ubisoft, can we get like what they want, like the Cryo 3 with their sleeves rolled up or something? If you allow bloused boots or just rolled up sleeves with a lot of the items, I think people would be happy. Animations. Here we go. Some animations. I know it's a physics thing probably, but drag teammate bodies instead of pick up and carry, or you guys got to streamline the pick up and carry. It's way too slow. You got to clean that shit up. But people want to be able to drag their teammates and not pick them up out of battle. Reload animation needs 2 parts for animating and programming. This is something that I wrote down because this happens to me a lot. Okay? There are times where you're in the middle of an animation, right? So you go to reload. You take the magazine out. You see Nomad put the magazine in, and then you'll maybe jump down. So a new animation all of a sudden takes precedent, and you jump off a ledge, right? All of a sudden, you still have 0 bullets. Why? Because you didn't finish your complete animation. And that one animation of you jumping down, hopping off a step, just overrid the reload animation. So now what does Nomad do? You go to aim and shoot. There's no, oh shit, there's no bullet. And then he reloads again. He takes out a magazine. He puts in a new magazine. And now the reload's complete. So this is for the programmers and the animators. The reload animation needs a 2-part if there are going to be animations that override the reload animation depending on what the player is doing. The first part of the animation needs to be the magazine. Once the magazine is in, that's one animation. The second animation should start from here, because now if he does something else and he hops off a ledge, the second animation can come in and he could rack it back and be ready to rock and roll. So one animation loads the magazine, the second animation cocks the hammer. This prevents animation clashes where a player may get the reload animation, load the fresh magazine, but before the animation completes, another animation interferes, keeping the player without bullets and forcing the reload animation to restart from the beginning. If you guys have been playing Ghost Recon Breakpoint enough, if you have enough hours in the game, you would have experienced this. So it makes it look like the player reloaded twice. Okay. Quicker CQC stealth kills, more realistic, less Hollywood. I'm very disappointed with the karambit kills. I'm slicing legs, and then I'm throwing an enemy back, and then I'm going to stab the enemy, and then he blocks, and then I'm wrestling with him. It's a stealth kill, dude. I'm coming from behind you. Why? Right in the throat. You're dead. Goodbye. Even the one with the straight blade. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. What? At least that's quick. But what's with the extra stabs? I just came over to you and I just ripped your whole shit. Like, I just ripped your whole throat. That's it. Boom. What? Throw him. He's dead. I don't need 3 more stabs, bro. He's a goner already. I just tore his whole neck off in reality. I went like this with a straight blade, whack in a dude's throat, and I just ripped his whole throat off. What's the point of the 3 extra stabs? It's that you guys wanted to make it look like something. let's go back to the game of the year, Last of Us Part 2. What does Ellie do? She grabs you and she just stabs you. And then because she's weak, she just sits there and then she finally pops out your throat. But nobody just comes raw like a freaking savage and rips your whole shit off. So I would like to see quicker CQC animations, in my opinion. Or has anybody ever played the old school, actually any WrestleMania game? You know how in your WrestleMania games you could kind of choose your animations? Dude, Ubisoft, if you're going to make 50 animations, put it in a menu and let the player choose what animations he wants to see. And then at least we could change them out and have fun with the animation kills. That would be a good idea. Throwing grenades should not animate the character standing or removing himself from cover. If you've played the game enough, you've seen this as well. You're hid behind cover, right? You want to throw a grenade over this cover. What does Nomad do? He stands up to throw the grenade, revealing himself. You're on the side of a wall and you want to toss a grenade down this hallway. What does Nomad do? And he he completely removes himself from cover and he shows himself. There's got to be better animations for this. When you're stuck behind cover, boom, he just throws it. When you're up against the wall, boom, and he just throws it. Don't make me come out of cover. I don't know if that's a balance thing for PvP but it's dumb. So stop that. Let's see, better enemy animations when they are shot, showcasing more stumbling and injuries, and this leads back to adding the injury system to enemies. An enemy is moving, boom, gets shot in the leg, let him stumble like Nomad does when he's injured. An enemy gets shot in the arm, boom. And I think I might have had this up in another one, but I put it in animations. The enemies need to animate more when they get shot, and they're there, they're in the game. Sometimes they go off, but sometimes the enemies will like keep coming, like freaking, like they're immortal, and they'll get shot, and they're just like, they're just eating bullets. They're, let us see what happens. Let the enemies showcase that they're injured. Let them sit there and bandage themselves up, just like I said before. Okay, now we're at civilian rebel population. This was where I wanted to come to from before. An honor system. An honor system to determine if civilians, rebels, like or dislike you, give you intel, become hostile, become friendly, and help you fight. And this all depends on where we're going with the next game, but if there is going to be a system like we saw in Wildlands, I think they need to work on this type of mechanic. I think it would be really cool, especially with types of side missions that disturb the civilian population. It would be cool if you had the risk, you had to weigh the risk versus the reward of, destroying an electric grid or destroying anything that will disturb the civilian population in that province, but might help you take down like a high value target or something like that. You don't want to go in with all the lights on, so you destroy the electric grid, but now the enemies are pissed off and they see you all over the enemies. Now the civilians are pissed off. They see that you're doing a lot of shit in their province and they kind of become more enemy-like. They become hostile towards you. Maybe civilians are willing to pick up weapons and fight you instead of them being rebels and fighting you. You go into this one province and they're against you. It's something to play around with and think about how it would work, but it also depends on the story. So yeah, this will determine civilians kill you, side objectives you decide to embark on, destroying electric grids, radio towers, etc., things of that nature. Vehicles, unlock vehicles slowly. Ubisoft, you make beautiful open world. Stop giving us cars and motorcycles and helicopters right from the beginning and just let us skip the entire world you just made. Make us walk through your world. Build out your missions to where this whole area of the map right here is where you start. This corner right here, you start and you work your way. How do I do this? You work your way down and you work your way in and out this way. I'm all backwards. But basically, if you have a map, this is your map. You start here, you work your way out organically and you work your way into the world. All right, okay? No more of this mission design where it's like, well, we made a mission here, 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 and here, so we're going to give the player a helicopter and let them fly everywhere, open up fast travel, and let them fly all over the place. You completely ruin the immersion and your own game by doing that. You have to get better with your mission design and your game design, your game world design, if you can't figure out how to make those two work together. Because that's how every good game works that way. You look at any amazing game, Okay, it doesn't have to even be a linear game. It could be an open world game, but you have to move. Look at the, I'll say again, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. You know, you did a lot of little things in these little areas before you got to Hyrule Field. And then you got to Hyrule Field and you walked to this area, the Gorgons, and you walked to this, is the Gorgons? Gorons? I forget. And you walked to Zorm, the Zorm stream, the Zorm whatever, river, and you worked this area. Like, that's how it has to be. They didn't have you walk all the way down to Hyrule to come all the way that way, to all the way this way, all the way. Like, everything was in its own little area. And by the time you got there and you experienced the open world, you got your horse. It was like, holy shit, man, this is amazing. And that was 1997. You guys in 2020 need to be able to design a map where it's an open world, but the design feels linear to where you're kind of moving through the world slowly. You're hitting this base, then you're hitting this base. You're hitting a base here, 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 and here before you hit a base all the way down here, 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 and here. Don't make me go from here to there to there. Anyway, the bottom line of that is you need to allow the player to move around on foot, progress to a car, then to a chopper slowly during the campaign if you're going to have any of that. Make sure we experience your world the way it's meant to be experienced. Otherwise, we're just skipping over everything just to complete missions, and the game just becomes meh at that point. You can store a certain amount of weapons and items and vehicles in a realistic manner for resupply during missions. Vehicles have gas limitations. You can fill up at the gas at the safe house. So you fill up your car with all these items. You can't just drive around that car everywhere because you might run out of gas. So you want to hit your safe house up again, fill up on gas. Maybe there's a mechanic there, how to get gas. Maybe there are missions, like how there were in Wildlands, to fill up resources. It's something to think about there. This ensures vehicles remain important and are not abused in the way they are now. Oh, look, I'm in a helicopter. Boom, crash it, get out. Go to a bivouac, call in a new helicopter. Boom, crash it, get out. Come on, man. Even you guys have to see that that doesn't work. Traveling. Someone mentioned, hey, GTA taxi system, but with armored convoys that are controlled by the by AI. And that depends on the narrative of the game, of course. Excuse me. Injury system. Program so the character knows where they are hit, the leg or the arm. This goes back to what I was saying before. The character and the enemies, but also this. The character will bandage the specific area. Pack dirt for quick bleeding out, but slowly lose health until bandaged. Tourniquet a leg quickly. I think Breakpoint is a good stepping stone, right? It's a good start off. What I'd like to see is that you program to where your character knows if they got hit here, here, in the legs. So if you get shot here and then you bandage a critical injury, you'll only bandage this arm. Whereas if you have a critical injury in Breakpoint, it's always bandage the leg, bandage the arm, whatever, you know. I think it would be really cool is if you got hit in the leg and you start limping, you know it's a leg injury. You got to stop, bandage that up. Maybe there are different types of ways to aid in injury prevention or helping the player while in combat. So when you're in the middle of combat and you don't have time for a complete bandage, right, it might take 10 seconds, maybe a tourniquet that takes 3. The player just whips out a piece of cloth and ties it tight and keeps fighting with a little bit of a limp. Same with the arm or a bullet hole. You can choose pack dirt, and the player just scoops up and packs it, and he keeps fighting. And he slowly loses health to the point where then they try to get clear, they try to get somewhere safe, and then they'll go through the actual long injury animation where they actually bandage it up and heal it up before they can keep going. I think that would be a good idea. Get rid of syringes. They're boring. You know, just going. I think this would be a better idea where you have a quick way to do it. Pack dirt, or you tourniquet the leg real quick or something, and then you keep fighting, and then you have to get to a place where you can really help heal that injury up 100%. But whatever. Do what you must. But yeah, the syringes are a little OP. I think it would be better. A better system like that would work. You know, a system like that would work better in my opinion. All right, last but not least, this is something I added. Actually, I think my stream died right here, and then I stopped adding things. I think this is more than enough. There's so many more things we can talk about. If I missed anything, ladies and gentlemen, if you're still here with me, if you watched any amount of this, make sure you comment down below. We will talk about things Penguin will be able to even look at my comments and take other things. He's got a lot of work ahead of him. Good luck to Penguin on everything. Last but not least, this is my opinion on how to bring the console player in line with the keyboard and mouse PC player. Keybinds. Ubisoft, and to all the developers out there, the D-pad. This D-pad right here, 4 little buttons, right? You can utilize these. How? Don't make them actually do anything other than modify the face buttons. It's my opinion. Utilize D-pad to create more face buttons. Each D-pad changes the face buttons to allow countless keybinds. A, B, X, Y on the Xbox, X triangle square 0 on the PlayStation. It can combine for up to 16 buttons. If each time you press one D-pad, these face buttons change. So, the normal face buttons on PlayStation, X might be to creep, and then you hold X and you get down. Circle might be to, I haven't played in so long. I think square is reload. I forget what circle does. Triangle, I don't even remember what these do anymore. I haven't played Wildlands on my PlayStation 4 in such a long time. You guys know what it does. Comment down below. But now imagine you could just real quick, right, while you're in game, you hit left D-pad, and now these face buttons become something else. So now you hit right D-pad, they become something else. You hit up D-pad, they become something else. You hit down and they go back to the original face buttons. This allows the team to create more mechanics and not have to worry about having enough buttons to press, right? I mean, now, especially with the PS5, the touchpad is 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can press it. There are a lot more buttons we can have here. Let these D-pad buttons act as a key modifier. So you press it and the keys change. You press it again, the keys change. And they change the different things that you can do. And it can allow for a development studio to sit there and say, yo, we can make a lot more mechanics this way if you just press one of the D-pads and these buttons change. And then the player can press it right back and do what they want to do. It's an idea. It's an idea to keep in line the console player to where the keyboard player can have countless keybinds, but you have to kind of balance it for the console. I think that's the way to do it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's where we left off in my live stream. I was creating this. My live stream crashed. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with my computer, my streaming computer. Maybe it's a memory issue. I might have to get 16 gigs. I only have 8. I don't know. That's my dedicated streaming PC, but I digress. I'm sorry. An hour and 30-minute video. If you stood with me this far, I fucking love you guys and girls out there who love this game, love the franchise, love the genre, and can really sit here and listen to ideas like this and say, oh, yes, no. And, you know, if you're watching this on computer, hopefully, I should have said this in the beginning, you kind of wrote down your own shit. Comment down below. We will talk about everything. There might be, I apologize if I, you know, freaking scratched my nose or cleared my throat or drank water during this, but I'm not going to go through this for an hour and a half and edit this out. I'm putting this I'm putting this right into Premiere. I'm going to render it out with everything I see here. Maybe throw in a few videos. That's what I'll do. I don't think I'm going to do much editing on this. It was pretty clean for the hour and a half that I have. So let me end it here before the roof caves in and I have to edit something. Editing at the end would be easy though, but holy shit, man. That's a lot. Shout out to Penguin Overlord who's putting this all together. Go give him a follow on YouTube, Penguin Overlord. He's another Ghost Recon player. He plays other things as well. And yeah, yo, shout out to you, Penguin. Good luck with this. Good luck with putting Reddit together. Good luck with putting the forums together. Here's something else for you to comb through. I will give you my Ghost Recon What We Want in-game document. I'll throw it to you on Discord. Everybody, follow me on the Discord down below. Come join the community. If you just happen to come upon this channel, throw a sub. Ghost Recon community amongst other games. Play The Division. A lot of PlayStation games. I play everything, but if you want to follow, toss a follow, and we could talk about more Ghost Recon in the future. And that is it. I'm out of here, ladies and gentlemen. God bless. I love each and every one of you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Actually, I'm probably going to post this. I'm going to drop this on Monday, so you would have already enjoyed your weekend. So enjoy the rest of your evening, guys, and I will see you on the next video. All right, I'm out of here. Peace.